All right, Starbucks says it will raise wages and issue stock bonuses to employees as a result of big savings from the Republican tax bill. What do you know? And it's coming just one day after Disney, Verizon, and JP Morgan all announced similar wage hikes. They're all citing the president's tax plan as the reason for the give back. So why does the left positively, absolutely refuse to give the Trump administration any credit for America's economy? Just listen here to this exchange between a reporter and White House Chief Economic Advisor Gary Cohn. Watch.
Isn't it unfair to give the president credit for that? They already had that money in their coffers, right? I mean, what we're saying, they would have not turned it loose otherwise?
I would disagree with your premise completely. You know, look, if they had their money in their coffers, they could have done it last year, the year before, the year before, the year before. And we've seen the tax plan mentioned directly. They feel better about the U.S. economy. They feel more confident about their earnings.
And so they're spreading the wealth around. Americans are taking home more money right now. This is critical because wages haven't budged when adjusted for inflation in about 30 years. And you know what? People are making more money and they're getting more benefits, and they are getting it, at least right now, because of the tax cut. So why not give a little credit when credit is due? Joining me right now, Americans for Tax Reform President Grover Norquist, along with former advisor to President George W. Bush, Brad Blakeman. Brad, I mean, it's kind of funny watching that exchange there because reporters can't possibly believe, and I've heard many folks from the left on this show try and say, well, you know, this was just, it was a long time coming. This is really President Obama's policies that are affording these companies this opportunity right now. What's going on?
Well, it's nonsense to think that the Obama policies are responsible for what Donald Trump has done. Donald Trump did something that Obama could have done, but did not do, the repatriation of profits from international sales coming back to America, by lowering the corporate tax rate to be more competitive. Look, companies who don't necessarily like Trump, I'm talking about the leadership of the companies, have done something because it's in their interest. By returning and having revenue sharing with their employees, just as smart business. And now the opportunity is there to do that. And let's remember, anything that employees get from their companies is added to the benefit they're going to get from the tax cuts. So they're going to have a fantastic 2018, and this is going to continue. And the president going to Davos and letting the world know that America is open for business can only be helpful to every job in America.
You know, but Grover, there are people that don't want to see him get credit for anything. But when it comes to the economy right now, I mean, the one sticking point, you've probably heard me say this, I know we've talked about it, for me has been wages, because wages have gone nowhere. And I thought, you know, you can't have a real booming economy or even a successful economy if people aren't making a little more money every year and have something to look forward to. Now that's starting to change.
Yeah.
Does that make it harder for Democrats come 2018?
Yeah, this may have won the Republicans the November election in 2018. The Democrats said a lot of nonsensical things. They said no one's going to get a tax cut. Middle-class people aren't going to get a tax cut. Many people will get a tax increase. The companies will benefit, but nobody else. The companies are going to take the money and bury it somewhere. That might have worked if they'd picked off 2 Republicans, 3 Republicans, and it hadn't passed. Then all those lies could have stood. They could have seen that's what would have happened. But because the bill passed, and we're now seeing more than 2 million Americans, we're 3 weeks into this tax cut, just 3 weeks, and we haven't even yet organized the withholding so that people see what the IRS says 90% of Americans will see the tax reduction.
And that's coming next month, by the way.
That's in February. So people are seeing a hint of it with Starbucks and all these various companies, Apple, Disney, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, tens and hundreds of millions of people, more than 2 million, that are getting $1,000 plus bonuses and so on. Walmart, 1 million people, $5,000 benefit for adoption. I mean, the sort of thing the Democrats like to pass laws to insist on are happening.
Companies are doing it. What do you know?
When they get out of the way.
When you get out of the way. Yeah, I'm all for that. You know, Brad, Neil has said this very well. He's said over and over again, and I completely agree with this. We are neither red nor blue on this network.
Right.
We are green. And we are about seeing the best policies for Americans so that they can prosper. And as a result, we've always taken Donald Trump and his candidacy back when he was campaigning very, very seriously, because we were looking at the economic policy and how that would influence the markets and how that would influence wages and how that would hopefully grow our economy. And I realize there's lots of noise about him. He's polarizing, and a lot of people, may not like something that he said. But when it comes time for them to vote for the person for their future, and I talked to one of my very religious friends down south about this, who said to me, look, I'm not voting for my preacher. I'm voting for a CEO for this country so that we are economically successful and we are safe. Is he accomplishing those two things in your view?
There's no doubt about it. People may ask him to be a little bit more presidential, but at the end of the day, at election time, people go in and they think very selfishly about their own situation, and they think nationalistically about the country. They want to make a fair wage. They want to be able to provide for their family, and they also want America to be safe. And they want to go to bed at night knowing those two things. So I think at the end of the day, when the voters come in 2008 to go into the voting booth, they're going to say, am I better off today than I was prior to President Trump? And clearly they are. They are better off today. And they're safer today because we have a president who sees the world as it is, not the world that he hopes it to be. We want to make a better world, but we have to put America first. So, a strong economic America is a strong, secure America.
Of course. I guess we've answered our own question here then. We know why the media does not want to give him any credit for this because it would mean he's successful at something. Anyway, Grover, Brad, good to see you guys. Grover, you got to be happy these days.
Yeah.
I know you've been pushing for this for some time, so it's good to see it finally happen.
It's a good first start. Much to do.
Indeed.